What are some ways to improve you and improve your marriage? My name's Carl, and so glad you tuned into this video. If you need more marriage help resources, download our free marriage repair handbook at hopeformymarriage.com. But let's dive into this topic. How do you improve you and improve your marriage? And what's interesting about that question, it's actually a internet search question. That's why I picked it. When you begin to work on improving you, one of the interesting side effects of that, if you will, or one of the interesting results of that is you will generally find your marriage begins to improve as well. And the reason being is you're not focused on what's wrong with your spouse. You're focused on how can you be better as the spouse that you are. And in doing so, what happens is as you begin to elevate, your spouse will generally begin to elevate with you because you're making those efforts. Doesn't always happen that way, but a lot of times it does. So here's the things that I feel like are important in this. Number one, it all starts with praying. Ask God to mold you into the husband or wife that He wants you to be. And so that's the first step. I have a saying that a friend of mine gave me many years ago. God knows more about leading you than you know about following Him. And so if you'll put that in His hands, God, I want to be the husband you want me to be. Take me through whatever process I need to go through to be the man that is worthy of the wife you've given me. So there's one of the things you can do. Second thing you can do is work on the personal development side of things. So how do you view life? How do you view yourself? How do you view others? How are you communicating internally and externally? What are you doing to grow in those areas? I'm a big believer in personal development. It's been life-changing for me because I realized I had a lot of programmed thinking that wasn't healthy. Came from my parents, came from my environment, came from friends, came from television, came from all sorts of places, but wasn't always in my best interest. I also realized that a lot of my internal dialogue was not good. I was self-programming things into my life that I actually didn't want. And I had to learn to communicate differently with myself. And then I had to learn to communicate differently with the outside world because I found out that I was telegraphing things that weren't healthy, and that's what the world was giving back to me. Well, the same thing happens in our marriage. If I'm telegraphing unhealthy things to my spouse, I'm going to have unhealthy things coming back in my direction. And then the other step of this is what else can you do to expand your knowledge base in the areas that are important to you? Reading is a big thing for me. I try to read about 3 books every month. And along the way, I will read personal development books. I will read marriage enrichment books, along with historical books and business books and financial books and all sorts of other type things. But what I'm doing is I'm growing my capacity. I'm growing my knowledge base. And what that does is it gives me more tools to draw from. It also gives me more things to explore with my spouse. And this kind of brings us to really the last thing, and that is stretching yourself, getting into things that might not normally be what you would gravitate towards. My wife and I have been married for 32 years, getting ready to go on 33. And there are some things that we're very opposite in. She's much more cultured and into the arts than I am, and I'm more into, sports and travel and those kinds of things. But we have found ways to step into each other's world and make that a meaningful thing that we do together. May not always be the favorite of each spouse, but we've found ways to find common ground so that becomes another point of connection. So just a few thoughts for you today. I hope you find those helpful, and I'll talk to you again soon.